Welcome back. If Democrats are looking to spice things up in 2006 and 2008, and why not? My next guest has a suggestion. Why not pit Senator Hillary Rodham Clinton against anti-war protester Cindy Sheehan? Sheehan recently urged her supporters to thwart Clinton's political aspirations unless the senator from New York comes out against the war in Iraq. Here to talk about what could be a truly interesting race, former Green Party candidate and Sheehan booster Don DeBar. He joins us from New York, where he lives. Mr. DeBar, thanks a lot for coming on.
And thank you for having me.
I see you've got a pin. Cindy Sheehan speaks truth to power.
And it's true, too.
Why are you supporting her over Hillary Clinton?
Hillary Clinton basically is out of touch with the constituents she's supposed to, she's been elected to represent. The issue of the war, particularly, a majority position in the United States, Democrats, Republicans, red states, blue states, oppose the war. And Hillary Clinton supports it. Every vote, every action, she hasn't tried to distance herself from it, even at this late date. That's really a contradiction in the political system that needs to be corrected all by itself, no matter how you feel about the war.
I couldn't agree more. And not only does she support it, she supports it aggressively, more aggressively than some, say, New England Republicans. Why do you think so many Democrats and so many Democratic money people, the people who actually get you elected, people in Los Angeles, are getting behind Hillary Clinton so early?
One, people like to line up behind what's perceived as the front runner. There's that certain aspect to it. And number two, there really hasn't been any opposition voice of prominence within the Democratic Party that has looked to the White House and even national office like the Senate. I mean, an anti-war senator would be a lone voice in the Senate at this moment.
Yeah, and I think is much needed. So I agree with you on that. I think Mrs. Clinton doesn't represent her constituents well, and I think Democrats need anti-war candidates. Here's where I disagree. Cindy Sheehan strikes me as a bit of a loose cannon, said a number of things that struck me as hostile to the United States. For instance, she said the U.S. is, quote, not worth dying for. She seems to have attacked the U.S. military pretty aggressively. Can you get elected after saying things like that?
Well, first of all, the thing that she's saying that's of the highest order is that the war is a mistake and the killing should not go on anymore, and that is the majority position of the country. We're talking about a political process where the majority opinion is supposed to find expression, if not maximum expression, at least some expression in the process. She is someone who embodies the sentiments of the anti-war movement on that particularly large issue, the one we're throwing hundreds of billions of dollars at, the one that we are basically decimating our National Guards, injuring our military for. And so I think that if she makes a few mistakes because she's not a professional politician, she should be forgiven that and looked to as someone that can articulate this anti-war position on a national stage effectively. And I think all by itself, that's an effective weapon for the anti-war movement, the majority, the anti-war majority in this country to wield.
But being anti-war in politics is tricky. I mean, you can be against a specific war, but if you are seen as being anti-war in general, that doesn't fly. If you're seen as hostile to your country in any way, that doesn't work at all. And if you criticize the military even a tiny bit, you're out. No chance, no dice. Well, don't you need a candidate who's almost jingoistic in favor of America, but just happens to be against the specific war?
No, I don't agree with that, and I'll say this much. For people that are criticizing her for being un-American, she gave her son for this country.
Right.
So let's start with that. She has actual bona fides in there that no one in this Congress...
Well, she didn't, I mean, look, I'm not attacking Cindy Sheehan, but she didn't give her son. You don't force your kids to join up. He joined up of his own free will. I mean, she didn't send him to war. He went in by himself.
Knowing what I knew back then, which Democrats now say they were fooled by the Bush administration, it was obvious to millions of Americans that this war was based on a lie back then. And I would not have allowed my son to go. I would have tied him up if I had to keep him from going. So she allowed her son to go. And she lost him.
And quickly, do you think by doing this, you're going to be able to move Mrs. Clinton off her position?
Well, in one of two ways. Either move her off her position of support for the war or move her off her position as a senator from New York State that doesn't represent her constituents, yes.
Talking about speaking truth to power, Don DeBar, you are doing just that. I appreciate your coming on tonight.
Thank you very much.
Up next...